Welcome to the Passive Income Podcast, April live stream with Erica and everything you need to know and learn about options trading. Erica, how are you this morning?
Good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you. So, what is new since the last time we spoke? You were on just a few months ago, not that long ago.
I don't. Okay, let's see. Some things I did recently. Oh, I put a down payment on a new car with some options money I made. It was
Nice.
super fun. So I get to share a new Ford Mustang, the electric one, with my 17-year-old son.
Yeah,
He
actually,
made
I
more out on that deal than I did, but it's been really fun to do that. And I don't know. I mean, options trading is going really well. It's a great bullish year, and we really do well during bullish years. So nothing to complain about there, for sure.
nice. Yeah, actually, your tweet had me literally laughing out loud about the your Mach E, and when you said about milfing around town, and I was just like, oh, that is so funny.
I know. Well, it's just, a lot of people really are like, you have to get a Tesla. And I am very controversial on Twitter because I wanted to get a Tesla for a really long time. And I just can't with Elon Musk. I just don't, I don't really love him. And he gives me more and more reasons to not like him. So, yeah, so went and looked around for another car, and I've test drove both of them, and the Mustang is just way milkier. It just is. It just
Nice, that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, I was literally just laughing when I read that tweet that you posted. You still haven't posted a
and
good
it's a
pic of
great
it though. You
too.
still
What's
haven't
that?
posted a good pic of the car though.
I know. The weather has been like not great here. Like occasionally we get a sunny day, but it looks drab
Right.
still. Well, I want to do the car some justice and have like green behind it maybe. But yeah, it's in the garage right out the window here.
Nice.
So
And you were able to afford a car like that because I'm guessing a Mustang Mach-E is not can't be the cheapest car on the market, and so it's really probably the
uh,
options tradings that was able to help you, um, you know, get to that place where you can just say, "I'm gonna get this car for myself." And your 17-year-old, yeah, I think he did really well in this deal.
he did, yeah. So we one of the ways that I've been able to like save money over the years and like build my brokerage account was that my husband and I always only had one car, which is kind of insane, like that we were able to do that. But we both kind of work from home and we occasionally go into offices here and there. But we only ever had one car payment. But he does have a really nice car. He has like BMW X5. I say it's his because I don't really care. I didn't pick it out. I don't really care what car we drive. But yeah, it kind of came time where my son can drive now, and I want him to have a social life. So I was like, we should get another car, and we have another kid in basketball, and it's just like we're running around like crazy. So yeah, I was able to do one options trade on Nvidia, which was a leap contract I bought, and I sold it for a $10,000 profit in 1 month, and I used that as a down payment on the
Wow.
car.
Wow.
And then my one of the other reasons I got the Mach E was because they had a 0% interest rate, which is such a good
Right.
deal. So the payment was $120 less than I had been like a month prior when they had 6% interest. So it was just kind of like the right
Yeah.
time to take advantage of all of that. So it worked out really well.
That's yeah, it sounds like great timing on the interest.
Mhm.
So you said something in there
Yeah.
that I'm not really, sure about, so I'm gonna get you to explain. What does leap mean?
Yeah, a leap is an options contract that I guess you could buy or sell, but usually I'm buying them. So it's sort of like, okay, so you're buying the right to buy 100 shares of stock at a future date in time that you choose. Um, and if you don't, if it's sort of wow, there's a bunch of rules with it, but okay, so you're buying this contract that says that you can buy 100 shares of that stock at a set price for a set date and time. So you can use it that way and buy the shares later, but I never do. And most options traders don't. Usually, what they do is they wait for the stock to increase in value. And when the stock increases in value, the contract that you own goes up in value. So you can sell that contract on to somebody else whenever the stock price increases. So it's kind of amazing. The other thing too is like you can choose how many cents on the dollar you want to get from the contract. So if Microsoft goes up $10 a share in like the next month, 6 months, whatever it might be, I can choose if I want to get 50 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar, 75 cents on the dollar for every dollar that the stock increases. That's called delta. That's one of the Greeks. You pay more for the contract, the higher dollar amount, the higher amount of cents on a dollar that you want to get from the contract. So there's like a price um, associated with all these things. To give you an example, like on that NVIDIA leap that I bought, that NVIDIA contract was pretty expensive to buy. I think it was like maybe a $12,000 contract to buy it. And then when I sold it, it was worth 22K.
Oh,
So they're really amazing for advancing markets, bullish markets. They don't work at all in bear markets. Like you'd just be throwing your money away if you bought a leap during a bear market, and you'd be throwing your money away if you bought a leap on a stock that's going down. So one of my rules of thumb is if I'm going to buy a leap on a stock, it always has to have rising 5-year, 3-year, and 1 month charts. Otherwise, it's way too risky. It's like gambling to me. That's how I feel about it. So, does that explain it well? It's kind of
it
hard to
is hard to
understand.
understand, and as you know, I'm
Mhm.
still like in the very not even toddler, like infancy of trying to begin learning a little bit more about options and options trading. And it seems like that strategy is a lot more advanced for
It is more advanced. It is more
right,
advanced for sure. So, like, you jumped right into the deep end, but it's the strategy that I teach second in my course, especially this year because it's so lucrative this year.
right.
But it's one step beyond doing a call and a put. If you understand how a call works, you can easily get to understand how a leap works. But there are still people who take like a week or two to fully understand the concept of a leap, even with mentorship and then how to execute them.
Right.
But once you know, it's like second nature.
Yeah, and actually speaking of that, I just have that on the scroll on the bottom. I know you don't have your glasses on, so Millionaire Mentorship with Abundantly Erica will teach you everything you need to know about options trading from covered calls to cash secured puts and everything else involved in options trading. Millionaire Mentorship has you covered. Use the link in the description below to get started today. And yeah, happy to have you here again and talking about options. I see we have quite a few people watching now, so I'm hoping to get the chat going, hoping we get some questions for you about
Yeah.
options trading in the chat. And so, yeah, if anybody has anything that you want to know about options trading, now is the time to ask because Erica is
Mhm.
here to help us all learn more and try to understand this
Yeah.
crazy world of of options trading.
Yeah. And options trading is like when you hear the word, it sounds scary to me. Like the first time I heard it, I'm like,
Yeah,
what is that? Um, so it seems like this really big beast, and it is. I mean, you can do years and years of studying options. You really can, and then like years and years of figuring out a strategy. If you want to start from scratch and try to figure out your own strategy, I really don't advise that because waste a lot of time. But it can seem like a really big topic, but there are just easier ways to get started with it. And you don't have to learn everything. I have a guy that's a friend of mine. He's like, I really need to learn everything before I get started. I'm like,
yeah.
you just learn two trades and you're well on your way. And then you can pick up more trades as you move along, like if you want to. And you can just stop. Like a lot of people only trade calls and puts and they make a really good living doing that. And that's their comfort zone. And they don't ever really need to move out of it because they make like anywhere from 1.5 to 5% a month just doing that. And they're comfortable with it. And they like the risk profile of it so that they stop there, which is totally fine.
I think I'm going to
Mhm.
go back to sort of talking about cars. Like you think about your,
Yeah.
16, 17-year-old when you're learning how to drive and get your license, you're not saying to yourself, I need to learn everything there is to know about cars before I can drive one.
Right.
People aren't saying, "I need to
Exactly.
become a mechanic so I can drive a car." And that's kind of what it sounds like your friend is saying, "I have to learn how to be a mechanic before I can drive this car." It's like, no, you don't. You don't have to know everything about the whole
No,
strategy or industry
you
or
don't.
everything about everything just to start a.
Mhm.
So with that said, where would you say to maybe start to dip your toes into the shallow end of the pool?
Well, I think that the best trade to start with is the covered call. And that is just a trade where you buy 100 shares of stock and then you sell somebody else in the stock market the right to buy your shares for a set price at a set date and
Right.
time. And you get paid a premium to do that. You get paid some money to do that. So it's funny. I can check right now if you guys want to know what like a covered call would look like to sell one on a stock like Amazon if you
Sure.
want.
Yeah,
I can
let's
kind
do
of
it.
tell you exactly how it worked. So, normally, people have like a certain expiration date that they get really comfortable with. I like 2 to 3 week calls. I'm going to go 3 weeks out in time. So, this week will be April. All of these options, they usually expire on a Friday. Most of them do. So you have to choose a Friday, future date and time. So I'm going to go with this Friday is April 12th. So I'm going to go to April 26th. It's 19 days away in the stock market. And if I bought Amazon is currently trading at 185.20. So to buy, I have to buy 100 shares of those immediately. So I'm spending $18,520, which is like a
That's a
big
lot of
chunk of
money.
change,
Yeah.
right? A lot of money. But then to sell a contract to somebody else where I'm willing to sell these shares for $190 a share on April 26th, I can collect $470 right now to do that. And that money I can't do it on a Sunday, but I can do it Monday morning after 8:30 or when the market
8:30
opens.
Central Time,
And
9:30 Eastern.
yes, exactly. And then I get $470 to sell that
And
right
that's
to
the
somebody.
premium. So
That's
that
the
premium
premium,
just
and it's
goes into your
immediate.
pocket no matter what happens on April 26th.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm keeping up.
So I love that. Who doesn't love that? Okay,
I'll
so
take
then
400
there's
and
one or
whatever
two
dollars
things.
any day of the week, pretty much, right? Sure.
Yes, yes, I do this regularly, and so then there's two things that can happen. Number one is the price of the stock crosses 190 by the time that the thing is expiring on April 26th. And the shares would get called away from you, taken away from you. But the cash of $19,000 would go into your account on Monday morning and it would be there. So in that
So you bought it for
scenario,
18,000, you sold it for 19,000, almost 3 weeks later, you've made $1,000 plus your $400 premium.
it's basically going to be you made $500 because we bought it for
Oh,
185 and
sorry,
we're selling it for
185.
190.
Okay, yeah.
So we made, yeah. So we made, well, we're not writing this down. So this is hard to do. Remember all the details. So we made a $500 cap gain and we made a 470 premium. So that's $970. It's a pretty good return on an $18,500
For
investment
3 weeks or less than.
for 3 weeks. Yeah. Awesome. This is actually really likely to happen because Amazon is coming up on earnings, which is a whole nother ball of wax we won't get into right now. But if the stock doesn't cross that price, it can drop. The stock could drop or stay the same. Okay, so it could drop. The stock could drop to
Right.
180, and we paid 185. We're kind of in the same position now. We're not didn't win or lose anything because we got 470 in premium. But when this option expires on the 26th, we just sell another covered call then again for the 190 or 185 strike price and just keep going with this until they get called away from
Right.
us. So you can go on. I mean, I've made $3,000 doing this over and over and over again on a stock
When it doesn't get
for
called
two
away, you
months.
just keep putting it back out
Right.
there for another 2 or 3 weeks. It doesn't get called away. You put it back out there for another 2 or 3 weeks. It finally gets called away,
Yeah.
and then each time, every 2 or 3 weeks, you're making another premium?
Yes. So I've easily had this happen so many times where I maybe collected $3,000 before I finally get the stock called away from me because it might have popped in the middle of the week and then the stock went down to just 184.95 on a Friday and it didn't get called away or something. So it's very profitable and I think it's very
Right.
fun myself. I really enjoy it. It's like pressing a couple buttons and making hundreds of dollars is um
Now you are making when you say it that way, you're making it sound too easy.
It's so easy though. It's the hard part is getting the money to invest in
Right.
the beginning. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. So like if you don't have a lot of money to invest in the first place, you might have to buy cheaper shares of stock. And there's a lot of people who do this with cheaper shares of stock, like stocks that are $5 or $7 a share. I don't like doing that because there's more risk associated with those stocks because those companies aren't as valuable.
Right.
Um, so like it definitely helps the more money that you have to begin with, like
Yeah.
obviously, because it's an investment strategy. But once you have cash, I kind of think it's insane that people don't do this with some of their money. Um, as an investment strategy or a wealth building tool.
Okay, now I have another question. You kind of went from one end of the spectrum to the other of like, Amazon at
Mhm.
185 down to a $5 to $7 stock. Is there like a
Yeah.
happy middle, like it's a $50 stock or
There are going to be some coming up that I really like. Granted, I mean, keep in mind this is my opinion. So this is how I've been successful is I'm buying to me part of my success has to do with buying these really premium stocks and buying like the best stocks on the market. I would describe those as being stocks that have a rising 5-year, 1-year and 3-month chart. I don't buy any stock that doesn't have that. A lot of low price stocks just don't have
right?
that. Will I mess around with them here or there, like with a 1% of my account? Sure. But like I don't do any more than that. There are going to be some stocks. Well, okay, Walmart is a stock now that is really great for this. It's a lower risk stock to be involved with anyway because it doesn't move around. It doesn't have a ton of volatility in it. That's about $50 a share. So I love that
So
for this. I'm
even
looking
at
it up
$50
right
a
now.
share, if you get 100, you're still up to 5 grand. So that's still a bit of a chunk of
Five
change,
grand.
but it's a lot less than the 18 grand, right? So
Yes. So that's 59 a share right now. And then really exciting news is Chipotle is going to split. And then it will be it's going to split June 26th, I believe. And then that'll be in the same range as well. It's going to, right now, Chipotle is $3,000 a share,
yeah,
but it's going to go down to the $50 range as well. So that's a brilliant stock for this. So I get really excited about that because when I mentor people, I'm usually like, you kind of have to have like $25,000 in account to get started with me. Otherwise, your risk profile is a place where I don't really know that we're going to get, like, it's not going to help you what I'm
right.
teaching you. 50 is even better. But like, I'm trying to think, there's SoFi is one that people love to trade in the community. That one is $7.40, but the charts are terrible. So I just always get nervous when people do that. When I say the charts are terrible, this company is not worth what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sign to me.
Red flag is what you're saying.
Red flag. Yeah, for me. Other people might feel fine doing that. I don't, is what I'm saying for me. And then again, that's my personal preference, and I feel like that keeps me in profit. It's part of my rule
Yeah.
system. So,
Wow.
I'm trying to think of other ones that might be in that range that people always trade. But I mean, like, it's hard to come up with them because I don't trade them very much. But yeah, there are a lot of lower price stocks for sure. Like Pinterest is one I've traded a lot in the past. Before I made this rule for myself, and I got burned on it a few times. That's kind of why I made the rule is like you have to reevaluate where your strategy isn't working. And this is just one of those areas for me that I was able to clean up and like keep myself in profit more when I adopted
Yeah.
this rule. The 5-year chart on Pinterest is still down. We'll see, but it's $34 a share. So I mean, there's all sorts of different priced stocks on the
Yeah.
stock market. You can find anything. But the best companies are expensive,
Yeah.
sadly.
But that makes sense, right? Like you
Yeah,
sort of like everything else in life,
mhm,
you get what you pay for, sort of right concept.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So your Apples, your Amazons, your Nvidias, Microsofts, obviously those are some of the most expensive. Um,
Hmm.
Costco is an expensive one as well. I don't know if that's something.
It's a good options trade.
Is it?
I love
I'm
it.
just going to kind of question that. Like, is Costco a good company for or good stock for trading options?
Yes, it's amazing. I love it. It's got great 5-year chart. It has a dividend, which is nice. So sometimes when you're, like if you are holding the stock during the ex dividend date, you get the dividend, which is great. Um, but yeah, so the more expensive the stock is, the more you get in the
Right.
premium too. That's one rule of premium. But so Costco is 713 a share. It is traded as high as I think 780 in the last few months, and it will go back there, no doubt about that whatsoever. But like the first call option for a 3-week call on Costco is a $1,200 premium
Oh,
that you
wow.
get for trading that stock. So
Wow.
Nvidia,
But again,
because I know you,
to have
yes, to
100
have
shares of Costco, it's like
$78,000,
50,000, $60,000,
71,000.
71,000 US dollars. So for me, that's pretty much
Just
100 grand.
it is
Yeah.
close. The one that's real close like that is Nvidia. So another thing just to mention on options is that the more volatility there is in the stock, the more you get for premium. But you're being paid for your risk. You're taking on more risk because it's more
Right.
volatile. Is the way that there's market makers and they're people, but they're really algorithms overseen by people. And they determine how much risk is in that stock based on like how much that chart goes crazy. So Nvidia is 880 a share, which is like $100 more than Costco, 150 or something like that. And just to give, it's so much more volatile, and so the premium on that, I think we just looked at Costco, wasn't it $1,200 a share? So I'll tell you how much it is on Nvidia, $3,360
For the
that you get
premium.
on a call premium. Yeah,
Wow.
price the stock isn't that much more, but the premium is massive because Nvidia's chart
More
is like
volatile.
all over the place. Yeah, so that's something you need to know when you get into like selling cover calls or doing puts. Like you kind of have to have a little bit of an edge. You do not a little bit. You should have an education around
Right.
volatility and how much volatility there is in your stock. Somebody's asking,
Yeah, I
what
was
is
gonna
the
just
biggest
ask you if
loss?
you could see the chat. First comment was from Health and Wealth, just saying happy Sunday, everyone, and that they had to run. But the next comment here, going right for the jugular. What was your biggest loss on
Yeah,
options?
come on. Okay, two things I can think of. One, last year, was it last year? I think it was last year. Was it a year and a half? I can't remember timeline. Nvidia used to be okay. So I'm just telling you, Nvidia was 880 now. Nvidia, like a year and a half ago, was $185 a share. Just to tell you how
Yeah.
insane that stock has grown. I don't know that that timeline is completely accurate that I just gave you, but it's somewhere in that range of time
Well,
that
even
happened.
I looked that
So
stock up not too long ago, and I think it was 2018 or 19. It was at like $38. It's like,
yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy. So
If people were smart enough to
okay,
buy
just
that
like I
stock in 2017 or 18 and held it till now, they've done very well for themselves.
yes, definitely. And I have some clients who've just held it. I've traded it, so I've also done well, but I'm just a holder of it because I'm like, I'm not letting this stuff get away from me anymore. Um, but I sold a covered call on that with like a 6-month expiration date.
Okay.
Sorry. And um the stock skyrocketed to like, so I sold the rights for somebody to buy it for me for $20 more a share, but it went up like $300 more a share in that period of time. So I was like, oh my God. But I sold them the right to that to take in like $3,000 of premium at the time, which seemed like good money
Yeah.
to me then. But by the time that that got called away from me, I was holding onto that stock in my account for like 6 months. And my if I hadn't sold it and I just simply held the stock, it would have been worth 30,000 more dollars. And I was just like, wow, that was a learning experience.
I
So I
was gonna
didn't
say
lose
that's
anything, but
an unrealized loss really,
was
right?
it was an unreal, it was like it taught me a lot. But okay, so one of the things that I lost money on in the last year is I bought leaps, which I was just telling you about on Apple. Because Apple, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but it's been stuck in a range since July. Like the stock has not gone up. It's actually gone down, I think, if you look, or it's in the same range. I'll have to check on the chart right now, but it's annoying because I've traded Apple for
Right.
years. And it's just done something it never does, which is just be stuck in a range for a year. So I bought leaps going like, oh, I'll buy this leap on Apple so I can cash it out 6 months in the future for 20% profit. Never happened. Stock went down. So I spent $2,000 on 4 leaps each. So that's $8,000. Now there were $360 today each. And I haven't like taken the loss yet because I'm doing something else with them. So I have been able to still like suck premium out of them, but
It's
just
still an
like
unrealized loss
totally
at this point, but you could just
an unrealized loss. It will be a loss. That trade will be a loss, and it will be a loss of like 4. Like if I spend 8, it's going to be like at least a $6,000 loss. So that was a good one.
oh, no.
But it's all part of the thing, and really not predictable. Like that one, it just really blows my mind. I thought that was such a safe
Right.
trade. Well, things
Yeah.
happen.
Well, I'm hoping we get more comments in the chat, and more questions about options trading because Erica is here to answer them for you. We do have a pretty good number of people watching, so I'm just hoping some more people ask questions in the chat. And I guess you really have to get into removing your emotions from it and just having that strong
Mhm.
mentality of like, okay, if I'm gonna make money on this side, but I'm also gonna lose some along the way too. And
Yeah.
just as long as, over the course of whatever it is, 6, 8 months, a year, you're making hopefully a lot more than you're losing, right? That's the strategy
Yeah.
that you have, I'm
That's the
sure.
strategy. That's definitely the strategy. Also knowing when to cut your losses and just going like, oh, this looks like I'm going into a loss, and then exiting in a good period of time is really key. So there's a number of people right now that are buying, continue to buy Tesla stock, even though it's going down. Um, and that really, I feel for those people. I'm like, please stop doing that. Please stop. And like, so I was talking to one of my people that I was mentoring actually on Twitter, and he was saying, like, okay, so I was following your like chart thing about the 5-year, 1 year and 3 month chart thing, and Tesla did have that all at one point in time. So like, I kind of still could have gotten screwed, and I'm like, oh, absolutely, you can get screwed. You have to like. When that stock is declining, and my rule of thumb is if a stock that I own is declining for 2 quarters in time, 2 fiscal quarters, I sell it at a loss. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. You have to do it. It's going to
Yeah.
suck. But you have to move on to greener pastures, and you just don't want to hold on to a sinking. You're not going to be on like, why would you, if the Titanic is sinking, right? You're going to get on a lifeboat and like get the heck out of there. You're not going to stay on the ship when it's sinking. So
There
you
was
really do
plenty
have
of
to
room
be
for
able
me
to.
on that door.
I know, right? So like, you just have to have some rules for yourself and then approach those rules in an unemotional way, and not make yourself meant to tell yourself you're stupid. Like, you can't tell yourself you're stupid when the stock market beats you up a little
Because it's
bit.
going to.
If it
And no
was
matter
easy,
what you do in the stock market, whether it's options trading or just buy and hold, you're going to get beat up somewhere along the way, right?
right, you're going to get beat up. So, like, you can't make yourself stupid because something weird happened, like that went against your system. Just like make some rules, follow the rules, and just be like, I made these rules to protect myself. So now I'm going to follow them in just a mature adult way. Same thing, like, you just can't have an ego about it. You can't have your ego super damaged because you made what you think is a wrong choice. You didn't make a wrong choice. You made a choice that goes along with your system, and your system can't work 100% of the time. If it did, we'd all be mega
Right.
rich,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Same thing when you win, you can't be like, I'm the freaking bomb. Like, it's no, you did your system. If your system is not returning you the results you want, you can reevaluate your system, but you do have to get some data on like how the system is working before you like. And it took me 2 years to not become an emotional
Right.
trader.
It makes me think of like, sports, especially team sports, where you go through a long season and you
Mhm,
have ups and downs. You're going to win games, you're going to lose games. You know, no
mhm.
team wins every single game all season long. And but at the end of the year, hopefully you've won more games than you've lost. And that's
Yes, exactly. And if you're not, You really should stop trading and you should get a mentor. I talk to so many people who like really want to make this a go of options trading and live off that income, and they're losing money. And I'm like, what are you losing money on? And then they'll tell me what they're losing money on. And I'll say, okay, well, I know why you're losing money. It's your stock picks and it's this. And then a lot of times they don't believe me and they go bye-bye. And I'm like, oh, poor
Yeah,
guy.
is that
Like,
another
it's not going to
difficult thing? People just are a little maybe a little too close-minded and don't wanna listen, and you're like, "Listen to me, I've been there, done that, like, I can help you."
I guess I don't care if they don't listen. I want to help people, and like, it's either for them, or what I do is either something they agree with or something they don't agree with for one reason or another, or they're skeptical. There's so many people that are very skeptical. I mean, I would be too. Like, I would be too. But
Yeah, because honestly, it really does kinda sound too good to be true sometimes, right?
it does. It does. It really does. I was trying to tell I went to dinner at like my best friend's house last night, and her husband was there, and I was like, he hates job, and I was like, you should just let me. I have a course starting on Tuesdays, like, you can come, it's free to you, like, come learn this. I really see how miserable you are at your job, like, you guys have money to do this, like, you should do this. And he's like, so you think I should just quit my job to do this? I'm like, I never said that. People have stuff about money, they have like weird hangups about money, like, we all do. Most of it goes back to our earlier years as
Right.
children, um, and money experiences that our parents had, they kind of passed down to us, or like a traumatic experience with money where, I don't know, like, you got in an accident and it's 330,000, a car accident at $330,000 in medical debt in the United States or something like that. And
Yeah.
like, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on with people's money, but they bring a lot of that
That baggage.
experience into trade baggage. Like, my husband trades this leaps strategy, and some weeks he'll make $3,000, and then for another week he'll be like, "This week sucks because I didn't make any money this week doing this." And I'm like, "Babe, but you made 3 grand last week. Like, put it in perspective. Like, this is not something to be sad about that this week didn't happen.
Right.
It's just
Well, and keep
patience,
in mind,
patience,
there's a lot of
patience."
people out there that don't make $3,000 in a month, so
I
like,
know
I mean, working a
exactly. So
day
I'm
job
like,
9 to 5 that there's tons of people that
exactly.
barely make 3 grand a month, and that's, in this day and age, very hard to what is that, 48 grand a year? 12 times 3 is
Yes, this is
36
what
grand
I'm
a
like.
year?
Exactly, like, especially with options, and people are like, "Oh, I only made 1.5% this month, but I made 5 last month, but this month I'm failing." I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah,
zoom out. Zoom out. What's 1.5? If you only made 1.5 for a year, what percentage rate would that be in a year?" Like,
yeah,
zoom out, like, and like, don't get greedy. Greedy will make If you get greedy, what happens is you make bad trades and then you lose more
right.
money. So I'm just extremely positive with all this stuff, and it's never lost on me. I can click a couple buttons and make hundreds of dollars. Like, it's the easiest job in the world, really. So I can't complain about it. I would, but I see a lot of people complain about it, and I'm just like, oh, you guys, it's not sinking in how fortunate you are, you know?
Yeah, and I think that is definitely a big one, and like you said, we all have a little bit of that money mindset, and it's probably a lot of us have it as a negative from whatever reason of whatever maybe bad
Hmm.
experience you might have had in maybe in an investment or like you said, some other, incident in your life, and
Yeah.
those are that's, tough to overcome, and like I called it the baggage, right? Like, the baggage of the money relationship, the relationship you have with money.
Yes. Like, my mother has relationship with money that is interesting to me. I mean, it's sad. Her story is kind of sad. Like, when she was young, her father was an alcoholic and he spent like all the money at the bar and the family had. And there was no credit cards back then or anything. So like, her mother was always like, "Babe, I need money for groceries," and he's like, "There's no money." And there would be fights in the house because she's like, "You spent all the money at the bar again." And there was a real shortage of even just like money to get by in their family, which I think goes on in a lot
Yeah.
of families, right? But she's now a very wealthy woman, and she's still just, well, she's so still so frugal. Like, there was this gray leather jacket that she wanted at Nordstrom, and it was $450. And she's like, "This is so my style. I love this." I was like, "You should buy it." She's like, "No, I can't. It's too much." I'm like, "What? Why?"
Yeah.
Like, no, come on, enjoy your money. But she still can't. She does enjoy some of her money, but there's some things she cannot allow herself to enjoy with her money. And I just find that so like interesting because that is not, she's not living in her financial reality. She's living in her past. I hope she's not watching this because I have no guts to say this to her
Oh,
face.
I'm gonna make sure I find your mom on the internet, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever I have to find her. I'm going to send her the link to this.
She's an incredibly generous woman in other ways, but like there's things that just she won't do. She like all my whole childhood, we never bought Oreo cookies because she would never buy anything brand name, you know, like she didn't really have that money back then. But I mean, it was always like if we bought Oreo cookies, it was with a coupon. Like there had to be a coupon, you know, and there's a lot of people who live that way and it's super smart. But she's still that way today.
Well, and
So
honestly, I have no problem with that. If you can get 50 cents off of something, take the 50 cents off, right? Like,
absolutely. Absolutely, but I think that now it's like she would really like the cookies, but she won't buy the cookies because she can't get them on sale, and I'm like, "You" it's just silly to me at this point because she's not hurting at
yeah.
all.
Well,
I can say that for
that's
sure,
good
so
that's good that she's gotten to a point in life where she isn't, hurting financially, but and it is unfortunate that maybe she
yes.
can enjoy it a little bit more. We've kinda
Yeah.
gotten sidetracked a little bit
Yeah,
from options
sorry.
trading and obviously, my big thing, as I've mentioned to you in the past, just passive income. I obviously dividend
Mhm.
investing is sort of one of my biggest strategies, and partially for me is because it's relatively easy, relatively safe. You just buy companies, they're going to pay a dividend every month or every quarter. You hope that they grow their dividend and not slash the dividend. That's a little bit of risk in the dividend investing,
Right.
and I know we've talked too about how options trading is not 100% passive, and even dividend investing isn't 100% off, 100% passive. You still have to do your own due
Yeah.
diligence and research and pick the companies that you like and feel comfortable with. And when we spoke a few months ago, you were saying you're now down to like just working on this 2 to 4 hours a week. So it still very much is passive. It's a lot, obviously 4 hours a week is a lot less than working 40 or 45 hours a week at a job.
Yeah. It is. That's how much I trade. Yeah. That's the system that I developed like for trading this way made it so I wouldn't have to spend a lot of time because like that's kind of what I wanted from it was time
Right.
freedom. So it can take a very small amount of time. I mean, when you start up, you have to spend more time because you have
Right.
to learn it for sure. But most of my people that I mentor spend 2 weeks, sorry, 2 hours a week learning and then they learn gradually and start trading and then like they're in the system that takes this minimal amount of time. There's people that can totally learn more and faster and like really dig into stock research if they feel like it, etc., but it's not completely necessary. So just like I'm sure you could do hours and hours of research about looking up dividend stocks, I've done that
Yeah, you
myself.
can
So
literally do hours and hours of research on anything now. Like you just go to Google and type in,
yes,
and you can learn about anything you want to learn. Go to YouTube and go to YouTube University and learn about everything. Like we're trying to learn here today
right.
with you more about options trading. Um, I know I've
Hmm.
also mentioned to you in the past where it's like, okay, well, I work Monday to Friday from 8 to 4:30. That's Eastern time, right when the markets are open. And
Hmm.
so, how do you factor in that 4 hours a week or 2 hours a week while the markets are open? I guess you could probably do a lot of the learning maybe on in the evenings and weekends as when you're getting started. Is that kind of the idea? And then again, when you're down to a few hours a week, you can use your phone, tap a few buttons during your breaks and lunch hour and whatever. But
Yeah. You can do fine with, okay, so like for me being in the Midwest, for example, a lot of people's work doesn't start until 9, say, but market opens at 8:30. So you can do like a half an hour trading before your workday starts, maybe get to your office like a half hour early. So you're already there, trade there, start your work at 9, whatever. Checking on your lunch breaks at stuff or modifying trades in a lunch break is a great strategy. It works super well. Um, a lot of the people that I work with tend to be, um, they kind of fit in like I don't know if I just noticed they fit into some tiny little groups of people. Like there are people that own their own businesses, so they're entrepreneurs and they can like kind of just take breaks whenever they
Right.
want. There's people who work from home, a lot
Yeah.
of them. And there's just people who are like have a lot of resource, like maybe doctors and stuff like that, where they're maybe have their own private practice where they can be like, okay, I'm doing an hour of this, and then I'm gonna have like they'll just set apart like book out 1 hour of their time a couple of times days a week to do something like this. So, but people learn from me. Like the course that I'm starting on Tuesday, it's at 6:30 Central Time, and then they have to learn 1 hour on video through the week, but they can learn that whenever. So the learning it is like, yeah, you can learn any time of the
Is
day,
that
but
6:30 a.m. or
the
p.m.?
training, that was PM. And then the trading, yeah, has to happen during market hours usually. Although there is a guy on Twitter who has this night trading book that I'm super interested in. Is his name Dave
Yeah,
Guy or something like
he's,
that? I think.
he was one of the
Yeah.
original, guests here way back around episode 20 on the Passive Income Podcast. You can go back and check that out.
Yeah, yeah, he and I chat a lot. So, but there are strategies actually, like my husband's strategy I was talking about. He executes that overnight. So he sets it up at the end of the day to execute overnight. It takes him like 5 minutes to set it up, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
So
So,
even though, like, someone like me has these challenges, there's ways to overcome them.
oh yeah, like I mean, I do a bunch of my trading. I love to do it on a Monday morning, right when the market opens. And I'm usually at the gym then. And I sit here and trade on my phone on my rest sessions in between weightlifting. And I'll make like $1,500 during my rest sessions at the gym. So ridiculous. But I'm super comfortable with it now. That's how easy it gets.
Wow.
Literally.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It's a great start to the week when the
It's
first thing you do on Monday morning is make $1,500, right?
It's so awesome. Like that's what I love this because like I get up in the morning and then I can't wait for the market to open. I see a couple trades that I actually like sit there, drink my coffee, looking at what the market's doing for 10 minutes. And then I see some opportunities. I come in and I do them. I usually make like $500 before I even like do anything else. And then I'm like, that's my money for the day. So anything else I do is just gravy,
Right.
you know? So it can turn into that for people. So it's pretty
Now,
fun.
when you're drinking your coffee, are you drinking it in a passive income posse?
No, where can I get one? Do I have to go to your merch page and buy one? I have this beautiful anthropology mug. I don't know if you're gonna talk me out of using all the fluoro stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's a good time to say you can receive a free passive income posse. Turn that cash register around. Coffee mug with any purchase over 100 Canadian dollars before taxes and shipping at buyinvestingshirts.com. Use code word posse for 5% discount on your purchase. All sorts of great merchandise there, hats, hoodies. Yeah.
Ooh, maybe the hoodie would be good for
The
me.
and that 100 Canadian dollars, that's only about 74 USD. So,
But then I have to buy another $15 or $25 to get the free mug though. So what am I gonna get? The hat? How much is the hat?
I'm not even sure. I think the hoodie is actually something like no, you don't need to buy another $25. At 74 US dollars, you're at 100 Canadian dollars.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
like, what are you talking about?
I'm really bad at math, Dave.
How can you be bad at math? You make $1,500 the first thing you do Monday morning.
I don't know. But like algebra was not my favorite topic. I can tell you that. In high school, that was not my thing. But yeah, I'm good at
Yeah,
budgets.
obviously you're good at seeing. Obviously now it's like because you've been doing this a few years. I know when we first chatted,
Mhm.
you talked about like the early days of the pandemic, and that's when you just kind of were all of a sudden stuck at home, and then it was like deep dive into this, and you just learned everything you could as quickly as you could, and now here we are a few years later, and you're on the
Yeah.
opposite end of it now. You're teaching and mentoring other people, so
Mhm.
obviously great progress in just a few short years. But like I was saying, you can
Yeah,
obviously now, whether being good at algebra or calculus has nothing to do with this really, right?
it doesn't. It really
But you can
doesn't.
identify what you
It's
see as a good trade or a good potential trade.
Yeah, I mean, there's just if you can follow just a simple system, you just follow the system. So, like for example, I have trades that I do on down days in the stock, and then I have trades that I do on up days. And so it's sort of like no matter what the stock is doing, I'm always coming in and out of it and making money. So it's
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, I almost feel like it's like a helix. Like I'm just in a helix of like, oh, I do this on an up day and this on a down day. And then whenever it goes the opposite direction, you can just kind of milk more premium from the market. And that's when you really start compounding a lot, when you understand that, because it doesn't matter what the market does, you can still just be making like a somewhat reliable income from it. Sometimes you do a little better, sometimes you do a little worse, but like sometimes you can get a little stuck, but just like don't worry if you get stuck, because it's still like such easy money. I mean, we all get stuck with everything, right? Like even in your career, you might not like it for a few months because you're going through whatever. Like that happens in trading
Yeah.
too. Like, so it's managing mindset a lot. But this year has been so good and last year has been so good with my system that I feel like I'm just like could almost use a little bit of it to bring me back down to earth, because
Killing it.
yeah, it's really good right now. It's really, I mean, anyone who's buying stocks is just looking at, especially the good ones, is looking at their portfolio and thinking, oh my God, I'm doing really great in the last year and a half. I think last year a lot of people were still really gun shy about getting in it, and missed out on like a huge
Right.
run. So if that was you, definitely take some time to examine your mindset and think about why you weren't observing the data in like a neutral
Right.
way.
Now you mentioned up days and down days. So are you looking at pre-market moves to identify if it's going to be an up or down day, or do you just kind of wait for the
Yeah.
morning and see how the morning goes, or is it it's more of the pre-market moves is sort of your
Yeah, I look at so I'm having my coffee and I'm like, oh, what does the pre-market say? And then you can tell if it's a green day or a down day just by looking at the Dow, what the Dow is up or if it's down. And then from there, I can just go into my stock pick list, which is like I have just a list on my phone of like all the stocks in an app that I trade with, and I can see if they're up or down. And then from there, I kind of like just mentally know where I'm at with stuff, and then I could just like go in and trade really fast, modify a couple things, and then move on with my day. So, some days what's interesting is some days the stock market doesn't move,
right.
and then you're just like, oh, I'm just waiting. That's actually happening a lot this year, where you just kind of go open up a day and you're like, oh, we have had 3 days of the same. Okay. And then my husband will be like, babe, you haven't really made as much money as you made. like, or like I just was looking at the spreadsheet, like what happened? I'm like, stock market's not doing anything. So then I
Yeah.
chill, you know? So knowing when to be patient is good.
We
Somebody
have a
has a
big
question about
question here.
Delta.
I think first you have to explain to me what the question means. What delta do you buy leaps at?
So when I Oh yeah. Okay. So delta represents the amount of cents on the dollar you can get when a contract goes up or down. Okay. So you'd be losing cents on the dollar. But like a 50 delta gets you 50 cents on the dollar for every dollar the stock goes up in price. You get 50 cents of that. So he's asking on a leap, what I get to choose that delta when I buy the leap. And the higher the delta is, the more the contract is going to cost me to buy it, because I'm buying the right to get more cents on the dollar. So therefore it's more expensive. So he's asking me what delta that I buy leaps at. So I'm going to say, so I always buy 50 or more. I prefer delta 65s. If I can have budget to buy a delta 75, I love it. And I'll give him even more information. I always make sure to buy my leaps I try to get 500 days for the expiration date. So it's a really long time. And that is more expensive than buying a shorter dated expiration date. So whenever you're buying a leap, you're paying for kind of like two things: time, how much time is there in it? If there's a lot, like if there's a 3 year, that's a lot, costs a lot more than like a 500 day, for example. And then the amount of the delta increases the price as well. So a 50 is cheaper than a 75. So that's what he's
So
asking. It's a
500
good
days though
question.
is like that's a year and a half. Now is there
Yeah.
somewhere in
So I'm
between there
giving
that you actually sell this or okay.
yes. Yeah. Sell them all the time. So I will sell. So that's one of the things that I do is that when the stock goes down, like let's say what, Dave, is there a stock that you like that's not a dividend stock or no?
Uh, just use Tesla for example, I guess.
Oh, you can't use Tesla. That's the only thing because it's going
Oh,
down.
okay. Use
So we wouldn't do really funny. Let's use Amazon since we
yeah,
used that
Amazon's a
earlier.
good
Okay,
one.
so Amazon, the 1 month chart shows that Amazon has been, it's all going up. Man, this is a hard one too. But Amazon recently has been 180, and then it's liking to pop to 186 right now. It's been as low as 178. So like if I saw Amazon drop to 178 or 180, I would immediately go buy a leap. That's a down day for Amazon right now.
Okay.
And then I'd buy that leap with a 500-day expiration. That contract would probably cost me like $3,000 or something. I would wait for Amazon to pop to 185 and then I would sell it. So if I bought at 180 and I sold at 185, there's a delta 75. So I get 75 cents on the dollar on a $5 move. You make $375 in profit. And that can just happen in a week or twice in a week. This is the power of the leap.
Okay, hold on.
Strategy.
No, you've made more than
I
that.
know, really.
If you buy, we're going to go with 100 shares for the math, right? So if you buy at 180, that's 18 grand, and you're selling at 185, that's 18. Oh, I see what you're saying, 18.5. So you've made 500 on that part of it. But then on your
That
75 cents on
part,
the dollar, is that on all
no, so
$18,500?
it's really, since it's a leap, it's a like you don't have to buy 100 shares of stock. That's
Oh,
what's different about a leap. So there's options trades that you don't have to buy the stock at all. There's many of them. And then in fact, that's when you really start to make money, is when you understand those concepts.
right.
Because those concepts are, I don't know, they're just more profitable.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say.
It does feel like you've lost me a little bit again, because as soon as you said you don't need 100 shares, I'm like, I thought that was the whole basis foundation of options trading was that you needed 100 shares.
Yeah, it's not. That's sort of where you get started, is that way. So you get started with a cover call that way, or you get started with a cash secured put. And a cash secured put means you don't buy the shares, but you're saying you will if the stock drops.
Okay.
So you're insuring to somebody else that you'll provide them with a put shares of that stock at a price that they said you have to buy them for, to provide them to them. It's like weird. It's harder to explain than a call, which is why I don't start there. But yeah,
So is a put
at
kind of like a
the end,
short, like you're expecting it to go down? And then a
um,
call is
I
more
think
the other way where you're expecting it to
well,
go up?
you want it to go up.
Either way, whether it's a call or a put, you want it to go up?
It all depends on your strategy. That's what's so
Oh,
interesting
goodness.
about options. He's not understanding buy to open or sell to open. Yeah, I know. But that's okay. Like, again, when I say that, like, it takes a while to learn this stuff, it does take a while to
Right.
learn this stuff. Like, when I do,
And Corey is talking about
so
me
in
not understanding, and Corey, you were 110% correct. I'm struggling over here,
saying
but I'm here to learn. I'm
he's
here to
not
learn,
understanding,
right?
yeah, no, exactly. He's not understanding buy to open or sell to open is what he means, BTO or STO, which is sell to open. Um, those are like advanced, like again, like I think the call and the put is where you start. I think that takes seriously a month to like really sink in for people, and then for them to get to the point where they can start executing this and like feeling confident putting their money into
Right.
something like this, right? And you want to make sure that you understand everything before you do an options trade. I have so many people who message me on Twitter like, hey, should I do this trade? I'm like, you don't understand it, so absolutely not. Like, and when I first started posting even some trades that I was doing, I was so anxious about doing it because I was like, people are going to copy this. And if they don't understand it, they're going to get screwed.
Mhm.
Right. So that's one of the reasons I don't post too many trades, because I believe in education and that you should have an education before you enter anything. Because otherwise, that seriously is
Yeah.
gambling. And I do not like gambling.
Like, they don't
So,
let me,
and
just walk into the operating room with a scalpel, like, they expect people to have education before they go into the operating room, right? Like to be a surgeon. So it's similar idea. You need to educate yourself first in any field.
Yes, absolutely. So like he's asking a question about leaps, which is like, okay, that's when I think leaps are an advanced trade
Right.
to me. So it's not at all I don't expect anyone who's new to options to understand what we're talking about. So but what I do want people to understand about leaps is if you were taught that like you can get 1 to 3% a month trading options, that is or five, and that's it. That's all you can get. That's wrong. That's not accurate. You can totally break out of that range and you can do it with leaps. But you can't always do leaps. Like you can't really do like a leap call in a declining market and make that amount of money. You need a bullish stock or bullish market to do so. So like options is really just taking advantage of what is going on in the market and then like getting the most amount of money while you can is the way that I look at it, you know? So I'll do really super well in up years and I'll do less well in bearish years. And that's just a reality of my system. And it's something that I accept and I'm just grateful for it because there's so many bullish years that I can take super advantage of,
Right.
you know?
Another great comment here from Sam. Erica, how do you prefer to manage your short calls that are being exposed to gamma risk around events? Oh my goodness, guys. Gamma risk,
I
gamma
know.
rays. I'm like,
I know. Okay, this is probably too much for this call. So I am just always trading stocks that I want to have as a long-term hold and that I have backup calls. I have backup strategy to my initial strategy should this initial strategy not work. So like if my strategy is to do a covered call and then get those shares called away from me so I can get cap gains, but then the stock drops, it's the opposite of what I want. I don't care. Like I knew that when I entered that trade, so I'm just going to keep covered calling it. Like keep doing more and more contracts unless the stock drops to a point at which I am uncomfortable holding that stock anymore. If that's the case, I will close out that trade at a loss. I'll rip the band-aid off with the stock and I'll like lick my wounds and I'll start over with something else. That's the only way I know how to answer that question in a short way with the example that we've given. So like I always have, but on my advanced trades, there's always a backup trade to my initial trade. So for this guy who's asking this
Sam, he's got
question,
another
if
follow-up
I had a
question here before I get to Pamela's questions, because we've got some comments going on here finally in the chat. What percent to
leap.
BP reduction do you look for a short? And Pamela, quickly, yes, you will be able to watch this
Well, short
on
calls,
record.
what kind of call is he talking about? Like, I don't do like for buying like a call, I don't buy short dated calls ever. I only buy long dated calls. On a covered call, my strategy is always just that like I don't look at delta on cover calls at all. I just look I never care about getting my shares bought away from me. I want them bought away from me. So I'm always just looking for high amounts of premium and then high cap gains, like nice cap gains. So he's getting really into the weeds on like managing all these like really specific things to do with the Greeks, like delta, gamma, theta. I don't This is how it takes me no time to
Yeah, that
trade.
sounds like,
I don't
is
actually
Sam getting into micromanagement at that point?
To me, this isn't my trading style. The questions that he's asking and those like you can spend a ton of time thinking about that. And to me, I've never found it worth the
Right.
time.
And that's again going back
I
to
mean,
your one of your original what you wanted to do in the first place was become more time flexible, have more time freedom.
right. And this might sound weird to him and impossible. Like he might be like, "What is she talking about?" I do run into that a lot. So like I don't close out a lot of trades. That might be interesting to
Yeah.
him. Like um he's saying fair enough. So like it's a little bit different of a methodology and there's so many different that's the other thing. Dave, I'm sort of like the fact that you don't have multiple options traders today here is interesting. It's like would have been interesting to have a bigger group and I know that we wanted
Yeah.
a bigger group because like my style of trading options is super different from other people's. There's so many different ways to trade options. Like you can trade it based on charts and like all those cup handles, like he might do that. Sam might do that. Let's see if he replies. And he says he
Yeah.
does, like based on charting, intense charting, like falling wedges and all this stuff. I don't look at any of that stuff, but I'm still a successful trader. But there's people who do, like Leah the trader. I think she does. She's also super successful, has a totally different methodology that works
Yeah.
for her. So that's kind of the other interesting thing about options. Yeah. So I
I
hope that
see
helps.
Pamela is watching
Um,
on Twitter with the X symbol there. Do you normally sell your calls for ongoing income on a monthly or weekly basis? I guess you kind of covered that earlier. She says she's just joined, and yes, Pamela, you will be able to watch this on recording on both YouTube and X. But yeah, I guess you were
yeah,
saying like you just kind of have it ongoing, sort of. You have those
I
every
have
2 to 3 weeks, sort of expiration dates.
yeah.
If I'm learning anything here.
Are good. Yes, 2 to 3 week calls. I love 2 to 3 week expiration dates are my preference for covered calls and the occasional put. I don't do puts very often. A lot of people know that about me. And then my leaps are going to be 500 days. That's a long time. And then, but I don't use that time. And then the exception is during earnings time, the month of time leading up to earnings, which we are currently in for the Mag 7.
Right.
I will do weeklies because there's super big premiums because of implied volatility in that stock, which some people will appreciate and understand. So, like, whenever we're nearing earnings for a stock, there's so much more interest in that stock and there's so much more involvement in people trading that stock. So, there's a lot more volatility or implied volatility. There might not even be real volatility, but there's this implied volatility. So, the premiums get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, this is interesting for new traders. If you start doing Amazon trades this month and it's your first time ever doing Amazon trades and you're making $700 per trade or $800 per trade, and then earnings come the next month, you're making $200 per trade or $300 per trade, and you're like, what happened? Implied volatility went away. So you're being paid less.
On the premium,
It's
that's
an
what you're talking about,
interesting
that
look.
700 to 200.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be that dramatic, but it's going to be like, I'm making
Yeah.
less on a percentage basis. And it's like, yeah, that earnings period is super profitable. And then the other times are just profitable.
Yeah. Well,
So,
both are good.
yeah, there's a lot.
Both are super profitable is great, but profitable is good as well, right?
Yes, yes. But there's a lot to learn, like in options. There's a lot to learn in the stock market, but these are like nuancy things that you can really like take advantage of once you know them and um, count on those time periods to be more fruitful than others. Like, for example, August is a really hard time to trade in the stock market. Like, it's never that great
Dog days of summer, just
for
people are
most.
out doing other things.
Yeah, like all the big institutional traders go on vacation. They're in the Hamptons or Europe or wherever they're going. That's fancy, and so there's not like a whole lot of volatility there. The stocks are usually going down, and that happens until September 11th is when there's like this fall kickoff. November and December is like money's like just falling down like snow on you, and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, but those are like predictable patterns. And then like if you think that's the reality for the rest of the year, it's not. But it's very interesting to try to manage your mindset around in August because you can be like, God, how long is this gonna go on? 4 weeks, but it feels like years when you're in it.
And that goes
So
right back to what we were talking about earlier too, with use your exact 2 words, managing mindset and what I refer to sort of as well, the separating the emotions and just keeping the emotions in check, right? Because it sounds like it's just difficult
mhm.
to navigate, especially if you've now been doing this for several years, so you can see these patterns of what happens in August and what happens in September, October, November, what happens maybe in this time of year or whatever, right? And around earnings calls, you've kind of been through it enough times now to understand the patterns and the cyclical nature.
Nuance. Yeah, the patterns and the nuance are so important. And that's why I'm always like, guys, get a mentor because a mentor can just tell you this stuff and you don't have to figure it out on your own. Because I mean, I even had mentors that were telling me this, and I was just like, I don't know if they're right. And then you go through it 2 years in a row and you're like, oh yeah, no,
Mm.
that
Oh,
totally
oh,
happens.
okay.
So a lot of times you have to have a lived experience of it a lot of
Right.
times to really learn it, right? And that's normal. That's what And hopefully you learn from that and don't keep making those same mistakes if you made mistakes before. So it's always important to reevaluate what you've done and what's working, what's not
Well,
working for
yeah,
you.
that's like, what do they say? That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if it's not working, stop
Yeah,
doing it.
exactly. Exactly. There's so many people who buy short dated calls who keep losing money. I'm like, why are you doing this? Well, because I thought the stock was going to go up. I'm like, but why did you think that? And they're like, because I thought whatever. I'm like, oh God, no. I don't know. There's like, yeah, and they keep doing it, and then they don't really give up. And I'm just like, you're bleeding money. And I would really rather, but so what they're doing, a lot of people with options that are sort of have a more gambling mindset is they'll try to do a trade that can have this amazing payout if it goes well. But the odds of that happening are super slim. But for some reason, they like that. It's sort of like people buying lottery tickets or
Right.
something.
You buy the
Um,
ticket and you like to think
and then
about, oh, what if I win the $1,000,000? But generally you're not going to.
you're not gonna. So and me and but they'll see people post on X or other places. Well, I saw this other guy make $30,000 in just a week, and I'm like, that is not realistic at all. And if you just spent like $1,000 to buy that call and it's going to zero and it's never going to be worth anything to me, I'm just like, why didn't you use that money to like buy 100 share, not 100, like buy, what would it be? Like 4 shares of Amazon stock. That would have been such a better decision because that probably would go up. But they're like, it wouldn't go up that much. It'd only go up like 3% in like a month. And I'm like, but 3% compounded
Yeah.
over time is a lot of money. Where when you lose $1,000, that money never compounds. It's gone forever, and that makes me
Yeah,
cry.
makes
Like,
me
I'm
sad
sorry,
inside even thinking about that.
it makes me sad. Yeah, so like, just don't gamble with options, please. There are definitely ways to gamble with it, and that's how it gets kind of like this bad name out there, or people are like,
Just go to Vegas and put it all on
like
red.
it sounds to get to be true because there are those people who get like the $30,000 win or a 1,009. I mean, I've seen people with 2,000% returns on a trade and they post it and then they try to get people in their Discord or whatever. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, no,
You've done that, you
this
did
is
that
not
once and
good.
you won the lottery basically by doing that once, yeah.
Yeah. If I won something like that, I wouldn't tell anybody about it because I wouldn't want anyone to think that was like a real thing I could
Right.
replicate because I can't.
Yeah, you
So
said
take the smaller wins and let them compound is my message here. Take the good, like nice size win to buy the $18,000 Amazon stock. Take your $470 and do something with that $470 that compounds with $470. That's how you get wealthy. That's a reasonable return. It's a really nice return. Use that return to stack more assets.
now you've mentioned many times to, get a mentor, and I'm gonna take it a step further there. Don't just get yourself a mentor, get yourself a millionaire mentorship with Abundantly Erica. We'll teach you everything you need to
Thanks,
know
Dave.
about options trading, from covered calls to cash secured puts and everything else involved in options. I've already learned a lot more today, just,
Oh,
leaps and
good.
well, I've learned leaps and bounds, I guess. Millionaire Mentorship has you covered. Use the link in the description below to get started today. So, wow.
Yeah, and I do have a course that's opening up on Tuesday. If we have enough, it's Tuesday nights at 6:30 for 8 weeks, and then there's like group meetings
Well, that's
every
6:30 Central
week for 8.
Time, 7:30 Eastern
Yep,
Time,
yep,
5:30
and
Mountain
then there's
Time,
yeah,
4:30 Pacific
4:30.
Time. Oh, do I have to do the
Yep.
math uh,
Ah,
for Greenwich
I
Mean
don't know. I
Time?
do have some European. Yeah, I have a lot of European clients, so they probably can't make that one. But then there's like a year of support where you can come into Tuesday meetings with me and answer any questions in the Q&A. Like, Sam, all of your questions, like I could answer that group session where there's other people who have this baseline understanding of options. So we could go into it in greater detail there for the yearly support. And you can stay on yearly support for years to come too if you want. A lot of people do because they like having a community to bounce ideas off of and that. And then there's slower ways to get started too. You can actually just buy specific courses from me on like how to do the covered call, which might be just like if you have $100,000 account, that might be be all you need to get started and do really well for like the rest of your the rest of your life. Like there's nothing wrong stopping there and just knowing that trade and just doing that trade on a repeat. Like you don't even need to know much more than that to do really well with options. Get yourself ahead and on a path to financial freedom, literally. That's all I started with. And I was super happy there for like 3 years. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's amazing. And it's definitely something, as I've mentioned to you many times now, I definitely do need to learn more about it and finally get my feet into the water, so to speak, more than just the toes in the shallow.
You have my course too. Have you watched any of it,
I'm
Dave?
gonna be 110% honest with you, and I'm not gonna make an excuse. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I don't have the time." It's I haven't made the time, and I definitely
Yeah.
just need to make the time to do it.
Yeah, do it. Do it. Just watch some videos this week.
Okay, I will.
I promise it won't take too long. Right.
I will. I definitely will. I definitely do have to kinda learn to obviously, we've talked about all US stocks, and I definitely have to learn about, what Canadian stocks would be worth, worth doing this strategy with.
Oh, yeah, that's something I'm not as familiar
Yeah.
with. Oh,
The
Shopify
Shopify, yeah.
could be a fun one. The chart isn't totally there where I feel super comfortable with it yet, but I will say I do trade some
Right.
Shopify. So that's my like more a little bit more of my risky trade. If anyone wants to know my risk profile, Shopify I consider to be more risky. But I think that's could be a good one for you. It's like I think it's like $80 a share or something. So it is an eight
Yeah.
thousand dollar investment. So
There was
but
actually a thing that,
um
was circling around Twitter this morning about the top 10 market cap companies in Canada. Royal Bank was number 1, TD was number 3, Toronto Dominion, and I believe TD was 2nd, and I believe Shopify was 3rd. And they for whatever reason, this graphic was listed in US dollars as well.
what's the ticker for Royal Bank?
RY.
There's so many. One of the things I've noticed when doing dividend research is that there's so many banks in Canada that have really good dividends, right?
There's
Am I
6.
right?
There's 6 banks, and they're all,
Yeah,
I don't wanna say, like, not financial advice, but they're all kinda no-brainers to invest in.
right. When I've seen them, I'm like, gosh, darn, what are these Canadian banks doing? Because I don't think the U.S. banks don't. I don't know. Maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have that.
Yeah.
They have normal sort of dividends, but not something so amazing. What's the dividend yield on some of those good banks, Dave?
Well, it's been
Those
higher because over the last year or 2 years, the stock prices have been lower. The stock prices are starting to go back up now, and so the yield is
Mhm.
kinda a lot of them are still floating above the 5% yield on the dividend, 6 even. I think some couple of them might even be close to 7% yield on the dividend. Someone might be able to correct me in the
Yeah,
chat, I don't know.
the Royal Bank of Canada looks like kind of like a slow grower, but it would be totally a good one to do options on. The premiums would be a little bit smaller because there's not a whole lot of risk here, not a whole lot of
Yeah.
volatility in that stock. But if you were like, if you already had 100 shares of this, I would do a
I
covered
do not
call
have
on it.
100 shares of Royal Bank.
Well, if anyone else does. Oh, the other interesting thing about Royal. Okay, so another thing is most stocks have weekly expiration dates. The Canadian one we're talking about now has
Okay,
monthlies.
that's
Okay.
interesting.
Or yes, they do. So there are some stocks that have monthlies. Estee Lauder is one. I've traded that quite a bit. This one does. I'm trying to think. There's others that I come across here and there that have that. But before you buy 100 shares of stock in something to do a covered call, definitely look up, when those things expire. Do I use the wheel strategy?
Yeah,
Somebody's
Sam
asking.
again.
I
One more
do not.
question. Do you use the wheel strategy? A lot of long stockholders like to, but involves selling CSP prior to entering long stock position. Curious if you avoid doing that and why.
Yes. Okay, so I do not use the wheel strategy. The wheel strategy is a strategy where you sell a cash secured put for a premium, and you usually say like, okay, say Amazon's at 185. So right now I would sell a cash secured put for like 180, 250 because I want to get the stock for a little bit less, and I hope that the stock drops maybe, so that I get assigned those shares at 180, 250, and then I get paid to get assigned them. So I'm going to get paid like $300, and then I'm hopefully going to get assigned Once I get assigned the shares at 180, 250, I sell a covered call for maybe like 185 strike price and take like another $400 in on the covered call. And I just keep doing this over and over and over again. It's a beautiful strategy. It works really well for a lot of people. It especially works well on a stock that's just going up and down in the same range. Like, yeah, perfect. The reason I don't do that, Sam, is because I always want cap gains. And all the stocks that I'm trading are rising on the 5-year, 1 year and 3-month charts. So I want to put my cash behind buying the stock, getting the premium for selling the covered call, and getting the cap gain. I try to get it as often as I can when I'm getting called away. And if I'm selling a put, I might not get assigned or get any cap gains for like a month, 2 months. To me, that's lost opportunity to get cap gains. So I don't do that. There are times I sell puts, but and then I've had to wheel them when being assigned, but it's not my core strategy. If you're asking why that is too, like I just haven't found it to be as profitable. So I've tried it, it's just not as profitable on those rising stocks. So that's why I don't do it very often.
Pamela has the toughest question of the day that what is the tax consequence for US citizens
No
buying
idea.
Canadian stocks? First thing I'm going to say, Pamela, is
No,
consult a tax professional.
yeah, no idea.
I'm
I know this
I'm
comes from European
I
clients
know that
too.
there is a tax treaty between Canada and the US. I'm not 100% sure
Mhm.
how it works. I know that in Canada, so I have a TFSA, a tax-free savings account, and then an RRSP, which is a registered retirement savings account. And if I were to buy US stocks, it has to be in the RRSP to take advantage of the tax treaty. And I'm sure it's kind of very similar in the US. I don't know, don't quote me on this, but whether it's your Roth IRA or your whatever other accounts that you have, it's probably similar that if you're buying Canadian stocks, it needs to be in one specific. But again, Pamela, please consult a tax professional because I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, another thing to consider there is aren't you kind of dealing with exchange rates too in a weird way? You
Yes and
must
no.
be.
So more so for me in Canada, because if I were to buy a US stock, I'm buying it in US dollars. Where if if you're buying
Oh,
a Canadian stock, a lot of them like Royal Bank and TD and Bell Canada are traded in New York in US dollars and they're also traded in Toronto. So they're listed on two different exchanges, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm not on your. If I was on the Canadian side, I would know all these answers. But since I haven't had
Yeah.
to do it, I don't know. I know I do have a lot of European clients. Because you're like options is sort of becoming like a thing that's more available to them that wasn't as available in the past, I believe. Um, and they're always sort of asking me these sorts of questions, but I don't really know the answers to all those foreign things. Again, same advice that you said is like go ask a tax
Yeah.
professional is your best bet
And we have
there.
a, a new person here. Nope. Hi, all. When you
Yeah.
do options, is there a percentage chance of winning? How accurate has that been for you?
Um, so this is a strategy thing as well. Like I haven't really lost money that often because I don't do these setups that have like these sorts of risks to them. So again, like if I'm buying Amazon shares and I'm selling covered calls on them, like I'm just taking in the most amount of premium I can at that first covered call to reduce my cost basis on the shares, if that makes sense. So if I buy Amazon shares at 180 and I sell a call on them that's a monthly call that's capturing like $600 in premium, then all of a sudden my cost basis on those shares is 174, right? So I mean, the stock has to drop to 174 for me to break even. I mean, like that, it could go through that kind of loss and I would still break
Right.
even. So you have to consider like, is that a risk to you that you're willing to do? Do you feel like Amazon is going to go down to 165? That's not, then you're losing
Mhm.
money, right? But to me, I'm still not losing money because I'm just going to continue to sell covered calls until Amazon comes back. The exception to that rule is if Amazon continues to decline over 2 quarters, I'm out. I'm selling at a loss, and then I've taken a loss. How often has this happened to me? Not very often. Because my insurance policy for these things is always buying those stocks that have the rising 5-year, 1-year, and 3-month chart. I cannot say that enough. Like, that is such a good
That's your
way to
baseline
buy a
because you've
stock.
said it so many times now.
That's my
5-year,
base.
1-year, and 3-month rising chart. You want those 3
Yes.
charts to
This
be
is such a good
up
insurance.
and to the right and in the
Yeah.
green.
That one rule keeps me out of so many bad things. It's just, if you haven't tried it, try it. Try it on for size and just see how different your experience is. Because everyone's underestimating how important that is. And I say it all the time. And it's like my best tip, and everyone's like, ah, like, you're not telling us
You've
anything. I'm
said it at
like, I
least 10
told you
times in
that.
the last hour and a half, right?
Exactly. I just can't really get over like how important that part is. So that keeps me out of losses. Like, I don't even know the percentage basis you're asking me for, like, probably 95% of the time.
Is your chance of winning.
And then my trades have a backup trade to the trades. So then, like, when I say that I make $30,000 a month, that includes losses that I made.
Right.
So I don't really take many losses, like, on the whole. Like, I've never had a losing month, for
Oh,
example.
wow, that's impressive. NBA All-Star, yes, you're right about exchange rate. It's hurting my portfolio as the dollar is losing its value. I'm not sure which side of the border you are on because it seems that over the last few weeks, the Canadian dollar to the US dollar has been very stagnant. It's been trading right at 74 cents Canadian on a US dollar
Mhm.
for several months now. So,
Same guy's asking me if I'm trade SoFi. I do not trade SoFi. In fact, I've come out many times and sort of like been like, guys, stop trading
yeah,
SoFi. There are
NBA
this thing
All-Star.
that's going on. Yeah, there's this thing that goes on Twitter where there are some options accounts that like trade, like they're always trading these cheap stocks and telling you how to options trade them. And great if these are making money. Like, this is great if you guys are making money. I'm not gonna like knock that, but it's almost like an echo chamber. They're all trading the same stocks and talking about the same thing. And I'm like, what? Why is this happening? Like, I can't really figure out why there's so much about these certain stocks. I can't find out. I
Yeah,
cannot understand why these are being repeated, other than it seems like a little bit of like an echo chamber. I don't know. It's
so
very
he's in
odd to me.
Canada.
Yeah. And what options?
Yeah, this one, I wanted to get
You
back to
put
this question. What options broker would you
um,
advise using?
um, it's really doesn't matter. Like, it's just whatever you're comfortable with. I use Charles Schwab in the United States because my 401k was originally in there, and like I got used to that platform. And then I really love Robinhood for brokerage. It's so easy to understand, and they have like these interesting tools that you can kind of see what your options are going to do over time and price changes. I think that like there's probably those tools available on certain websites like Trading View or Thinkorswim with Schwab, but I just love it being available at my fingertips for Robinhood. A lot of people don't like Robinhood because of this GameStop thing that happens a long time ago. And I'm like, if that's your reason, really consider the fact that you are
Yeah,
probably a
get over
gambler.
it.
Like, like that's not really like that was a kind of crazy situation. If you were involved in it, that's your first mistake, I would say.
Have you seen
But
the movie
yeah,
Dumb Money?
I think which
It's
one
the
was
one
that?
all about the whole GameStop thing and about the Roaring Kitty guy, and it's got quite the
Yes, I
cast.
saw
Like, I
it.
think it's Seth
It
Rogen and a
was
bunch of other, like, famous, like
good. Yes, it was good. And the guys the people like really the part that they didn't really sort of go into in that film was like how the Roaring Kitty sort of like and some other people figured out that there were so many like excess trades on that stock. Like, they looked at the options map and they're like, there's so many excess trades on the stock. Somebody's shorting this so hard. And the hedge fund guys got really lazy and thought no one would ever have the money to match their money to like throw them out of alignment on these trades and make them lose money. And they got that really wrong. So I do think that's just like an excellent movie on a larger thing with mindset about greed. The hedge funds got really greedy and they got
yeah.
screwed. And some of the people that were trading GameStop, though, the the retail traders also got really greedy and got in at the wrong moment and got screwed too. So it was a very interesting story about greed on the larger picture for me.
I'm going to go back to you about just the Canadian comparison to Robinhood. The app you've probably maybe heard me talk about it. It's called Wealth Simple. I've never seen the Robinhood app,
Okay.
but from what I'm guessing, it's probably very Wealth Simple. I'm sure has to be very similar to what a Robinhood app would look like just on your phone. And I know that recently, like
Mhm.
within the last 4 to 6 months, they did introduce options trading on their platform. So I do know it is available to me. I just need to know. I just need to learn more. Like I said, I need to put in the time, right? I need to put in the effort and the time to
Yeah.
learn.
Do it. It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. It'll be the best time you ever spent. Somebody else is asking, how does Coach Mac compare? I don't know what he offers as far as like mentorship. I think he does. I don't know. I think you can go and book maybe a call with him one on one and have him review what you're doing or teach you some stuff. I don't know. Mine is more like a program. Like there's 7 to 8 trades that I teach in a system, and the system works really well and keeps guide rails on to keep you like out of greed if you follow the rules
Yeah,
and like out of risky situations. I'm not saying that he doesn't keep you out of risky situations. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like I trade a system of 7, 8 trades and I teach you that system. So I don't know what he
yeah,
does, but I also like some people are like, can I get a one-on-one with you just to like have you teach me a couple things? And I always say no, because I'm teach a system.
right.
So
It
yeah.
sounds like what you're trying to do is, you know, what is it called when you play bowling, but they put like the little pegs up so the ball can't go into the gutter?
Yeah, yes,
It like
yes,
seems like your
yes.
system is so similar to that, where you're just trying to keep that bowling ball out of the gutter as much as possible.
Exactly, exactly. Yep, that's a great way to put it. Might use that
Uh,
one, Dave.
hey,
Thanks.
feel free to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what his system is. I chat with him every once in a while, and I am even a member of the group that sorry, I'm forgetting Stephen Cashflow
Right.
University. He runs Cashflow University, and if anyone wants to know, like if you want trades to sort of like copy trades, they're completely legitimate. They're great traders in there. Steven's a great trader. And if you want to copy somebody else's trades and learn that way, they are a great resource for that. I've been in there. They've invited me to come in and watch what they do and all that. And I can definitely say they're the real deal.
I
So
think
that's
Steven's
cool.
Canadian. Yeah,
He is
that's yeah.
Canadian. Yeah. 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 And I think you can learn from them too. So what's my next goal?
Five
Oh.
pin. Are we still talking about bowling?
Yeah. What is my next goal? So my next goal has been make 50K a month, I guess. And then honestly, I want to build a cash account. That sounds insane to probably people, but I want to build a cash account of like 250K just to have in cash, so that like if there was ever a huge market sell off and I was I was stuck in the middle of it and couldn't sell out of my positions in a really fast way. 'Cause, like the doomsday thing, if you're not thinking about doomsday stuff as a trader, like that's almost impossible. So that's my doomsday backup plan, is to then go in when the market has sort of bottomed or near a bottom, buy 250K of stock, ride that up again to like it becoming like $750,000 or
Right.
something like that. That's my next goal. So like this will be a really hard thing for me to keep money in cash. You have
I know
no
that
idea
sounds
what
like
a
quite the
mental
emergency
challenge.
fund of 250K in
I know, I know,
most
but
people talk
like
about like
it's
3 to
so
6 months for an emergency fund. You're like, "Okay, I'm going 10 years."
I'm going 10 years, yeah. And it would be really hard for me not to take that to take 20K and be like, I'm gonna buy this because it's such a good deal right now, or like I see this opportunity. That would be really hard for me to do. So that's a
Go
crazy
buy
goal.
your mom some Oreo cookies.
Exactly. Exactly.
Pamela, I follow Erica on Twitter. Love that she isn't a gambler and has a well thought out process. And yes, Erica, just from the few times we've chatted here on the Passive Income podcast and our DMs and interaction on Twitter, I definitely can attest to that as well. You definitely have a well thought out process, and you definitely know what you're doing.
I'm a planner. I'm a planner. I like to I even have a coach that coaches me on my business that I do this on, and tells me how to navigate Twitter, because I didn't know that 2 years ago or whatever. And he's always just like, well, what are you doing next week? I'm like, next week? I have the next 3 months planned out. Like, I'm a planner. So that gives me a lot of I like to take time to plan this stuff. And that probably makes me into a good trader. And that also helps me when I'm like, oh, I just expect August to be bad. I'm like, I like planning. So what I was,
We got a
okay,
couple more
so
comments here from Pamela. Approximately how much capital do you have deployed at a time to get your? I'm guessing that's that 30K per month that you said you're roughly making, give or take.
Yeah, 550K plus margin.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. But I didn't start
No,
there. I made last year my money doubled doing this.
wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. This year to date, I was looking last night trying to convince my friend, please do this. And I was like, I have 63% return from year to date from this last year. So, and if the market wasn't bullish, I would not. I'm not going to say that I can always get that. I'm not bragging. It's it's not just me. It's the market that's doing that to me too, but I am in the market. I'm not afraid of the market. So that's another thing. So, what was the other thing? Okay, so how much capital? Yeah, to get the 30K. Yep. So that's
You
it.
always want your trading income to always be more than your coaching income. I would think it easily is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I do full disclosure, I probably make 20K or something a month
Oh
mentoring
wow,
people.
that's good money too.
Mm-hmm. Or 10 or 15, something like that. Basically, I take on I have a maximum of about 8 clients a month, and it takes 2 months to fully mentor them. So when a spot opens up, I'll kind of go out and announce it in various places, and usually somebody comes in within a week or
Right.
two. Sometimes I have two people that come in at the same time, and I'll double up for a little bit. But yeah, usually, and it's been so much fun to work with these people for me, and see them getting a lot of their goals come true. And I love hearing their goals and what they want to do with the money. That's I always interview people before we start mentoring them. So there's a lot of fake accounts on Twitter impersonating me. I wanted to be announce that. And not that you all should know that already, but being on Twitter. But I never take on a client without talking to them first, inviting them to a group call or a one-on-one call to interview them. And I root out gamblers during those calls and sort of push them to the side, because it's tough working with those people. And it's not my, I don't know how to really get them out of that mindset. So, but yeah, I will find people that are a good match for it. And working with those people and finding out what their goal is. When they tell me they have a really interesting goal with their money, I just become really invested in that goal for them. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's get your kid going to college, or let's get you retired in your 5 years. That is, it's really rewarding for me. And I love sharing that with people. A lot of people are like, why do you even mentor if you make this much money? And it's I get bored easily, and I love people. I love talking. I mean, Dave, I won't shut up, right?
And I'm okay with that.
That's
Makes my job so much easier. I
so
just listen to you and listen and learn, right?
yeah,
And I
so
just
it's
watch the
really
trains go
fun.
by
And
because everybody knows there's trains going by my place all the time, all day, every day.
yeah, and the people that I meet are really interesting. I met a guy who's a CIA agent. I know a guy who's a sommelier. The people
Wow.
are fascinating that I end up working with, cardiologist or whatever, and they just have interesting lives to me. Otherwise, I don't run into those people in my regular life working from home.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's probably what I need to do for the motivation is tell you what my goals are, and then you'll be
Yes.
like, and then you become invested in my goal, and then it's like, okay, now now she's gonna be on me to make sure this is
Yeah, like when they don't want to do something, I'm like, so like, how serious were you about buying that house? Or
Right.
like when they are doing something in their old trading pattern, it's losing money. I'm like, so you wanted that house, right? This sets you back from getting that house, that bad habit that you keep doing. So like, do we want the house or do we not want the house anymore? It's
Yeah.
sort of like that,
We
because
definitely do like you too, Erica. That's another
oh,
great comment from NBA All-Star
I know. Who is he? I wonder if I've met him. Have I met you before on a call, NBA All Star, or just on the
on
Twitter
Twitter.
space?
He's you see the little X logo right there? So he's watching on Twitter.
Yeah, but I'm wondering. A lot of so like Pamela, I've met in person before, like on a not in person, but on a call, so I know
Right.
her. I was just wondering, do I ever feel alone? Mm, oh yes. So when I first started options trading, one of the reasons that I would work with other mentors and all that kind of stuff was because I was like, is my thinking right about this? Am I screwing up? Like, have I not thought about something? So I joined originally like different communities to find other friends that were traders. And I'm still friends with them like on WhatsApp. Like I even have groups of elite traders that are like, I would call them elite traders, where we're all of a certain level where we can be like, hey, did you guys do this? Did you see that? So that's something that you might want to look into, is like getting into a community somehow. Um, that you can have like a trading buddy or a group of trading buddies. Also, like just being able, like, okay, so last night when I was with my friend at her house, I mean, I could talk about money very openly and say, I've traded 550K. Can I say that to like my next door neighbor? No. But it's really nice to be able to have somebody who you don't know personally, who you can talk completely openly and honestly about money and have just talk about money, talk about the realness of money, and then like they don't know anything about your personal life, they're not your mom, they're not like, don't have an opinion about what you're doing with your money, but you're just that. It's very liberating to have somebody to talk that way about, like a friend or a mentor or whatever, that's the topic that you guys talk about and you learn from each other on that topic, like kind of only.
I'm just gonna keep going on NBA All Stars comments here. What percent of your portfolio is passive dividend income?
Oh, not much. Not much. Sorry. No, but I love trading like the stocks that have a dividend. So like Home Depot would be one. But it's not a high yield dividend stock, but it's $2 and something per quarter. That's awesome money.
Yeah.
Costco I have. I'm trying to think of some others. Microsoft. Like
Now, when we chatted previously, I think you mentioned that your husband had more of that in his portfolio. So he's
does.
yeah. So I think
Yes.
between the two of you, you've probably got a pretty good balance of you being a little bit more aggressive and him being a little bit more with the literally passive income.
Yeah, we do. He wants to spend he wants to spend less time on it than me. And mainly because I think I do this, that he's just like, I don't really have to know that part as much. So he's actually going to be learning more of it though now, because he's looking at maybe like changing up his career a little bit. And he's like, maybe if I could figure out some other way to trade some other money a different way, like that would be a good part-time filler for me. And I'm like all about it, like let's figure that out, or let him figure that out. So it's exciting.
So this we were actually talking about earlier before you joined. You say again, common is 100% of my whole network is working 9 to 5, so it's a different ball game. And we were talking about how to just how you need to overcome that obstacle because I'm in the same boat. I work, complete day job where I'm there the entire time the market is open, right? So
I
there
mean,
are ways to overcome that obstacle.
yeah, I mean, for me, if I was trying so when I first started trading options, like I luckily had like, I think this guy's retired now, but I learned from, but he was sort of like, if you don't know how to start, how you start is you start buying shares. And you try to build a position of 100 shares in a company that is a great company. So you should be looking for a monopolistic company like an Amazon or a Microsoft or some big company, and that's just gonna grow over the next 5 years. And you should start buying shares in that company and build a position. And that's it. If it pays a dividend, even better, because then you're gonna have dividends start to contribute to your position or your wealth. And you start there. And then like you just try to save money where you can to build more positions. And if you can't save a bunch of money because you got a medical bill come up, whatever. Like, don't let that bad thing
No,
that
he's
happened.
good. He's in Canada. We don't have medical bills.
Great. I'm just saying, like, if you have whatever pop up, like your roof needs repair, whatever, like just
Oh,
keep
he's saying he has the time to trade in the day, just no one he knows does. But I think what you're saying is like you get into these groups online, like you have your on WhatsApp and the people on Twitter and wherever else that you can get into communities. You don't necessarily have to be people IRL in real life.
No, yeah, no. I mean, one of the great things that happened from COVID is we all started connecting on video, right? Hello, doggy.
He is barking at the train because the train only goes by 20 times a day. He's not used to the train.
My dog left. I guess she got bored. Um, or there's bacon. Somebody's cooking bacon in the other room. So
Right.
yeah, but what he's saying, no, I have the time to trade. They're saying, I'm saying no one I know does. Well, yeah, I know no one I know does it either, except for
Right.
my one friend that introduced me to it. And then that's why I had to go out and seek and find like YouTube videos on it and books on it and all this other kind of stuff. My brother-in-law, luckily, was getting a finance degree, master's degree at the same time. So when I was learning options, I was able to call him up and say, "Hey, Chad, like, do I understand this right?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got it."
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
that
was
helps too,
interesting.
right?
But he trades options too. And he's got a lot more money than me, but he doesn't do it as aggressively as like he's not like doing it all the time like I do. Don't know why,
Yeah.
actually, but he's not.
Wow. Thanks,
LOL.
Dave.
Yeah, so yeah, you need to definitely find a community with people you can talk to about it and like talk openly about like how much money you have and like what they're doing that's working, what they're doing that's not working that can help you.
Welcome, Dave, to the chat. Sandstone Capital. I'm sure you know Sandstone Capital on Twitter. That's how I learned YouTube and free TD Ameritrade classes.
That's an interesting one, the free TD Ameritrade.
Yeah. So Dave is very successful as well. Retired law enforcement officer. He's been here. Yeah.
Oh,
Hi,
right.
guys.
Okay, yes, totally. Now I'm real. If this
Yeah. Now you know who I'm talking about.
here is different than what I normally see on Twitter. So like, yeah, totally. He's awesome. Yes, we are blessed. NBA All-Star is saying we're just so blessed. It's like, it's true.
Yeah.
It feels too good to be true. It is.
I kind of want to go back to your comment there because I have before we wrap up. I know we've been going here for nearly 2 hours already and over an hour and a half. So you mentioned like sort of at the start of the pandemic, COVID sort of it really opened up to this became very normal. Video calls became
Mhm.
just sort of people working from home and doing video calls, or even I still went to the office every day. I was considered an essential worker, but we were still doing video calls with people who were working from home, and so that's definitely something that has just changed rapidly in the last 4 years because of the pandemic. Now,
Mhm.
and I do know, kind of going back to sort of your situation at the start of the pandemic, suddenly you were at home. You know what? I don't know if I've ever asked you, or maybe I haven't just forgot because I'm a guy and I forget things. What were you doing before the pandemic? Like you were working a day job doing what?
I own another company. I still do. I own a production company and I still own it and I still work there. Like, but I have a lot of people who work there for me as well. So we did advertising. We still do. So we do like print photography, like we do photo shoots for big brands like Starbucks, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, like all those sorts
Oh,
of things. And then
wow.
we do video advertising as well, so like those little annoying videos that pop up in your feed when you're trying to watch something, we make those.
That's you. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Damn you,
uh,
Erica.
we make more photos than we make the videos, but yeah, so I represent, like I've represent for like 25 years. I represented a group of photographers and then more recently directors, and I like work on all their contracts with brands and ad agencies, and I like find them projects to do, and then we manage the project for the ad agency and make sure that the thing gets shot right. So
Wow.
In this year, we've done a ton of photographs of dogs and cats for some food brands, dog food brands. It's been super fun because you go to the sets and there's like a bunch of puppies there. I mean, like, I'm blessed. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah. Who doesn't like puppies?
I don't know. I don't know. What brings me the most joy in life? Trading, coaching, business, or family? Oh God, I'm gonna sound like awful if I don't say family. No. Yeah, I am a mom. I have two kids. I have my 17-year-old boy that I share a Mustang with, and then I've got a 14-year-old kid who is very into basketball. He's like loves basketball, and it's been super fun to see that because like 2 years ago he wasn't playing basketball, but he's gotten really good at it. He's very tall. I live with 30 tall guys. They're all over 6'2". My grocery bill is insane.
Yeah,
Um,
no doubt. I was
so
like, you need to make 30K a month just to feed them.
I do. Like my grocery people put their grocery bills on Twitter, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong that it cost me $2,000 to feed these people? But they're very hungry. I think I'm doing something wrong. I just bought like a huge bag of rice at Costco for $7. And I'm like, oh, I'm winning. But okay,
Yeah.
so the thing that gives me the most joy is actually coaching. It does. Trading
We're gonna
is
say
super
family
fun.
first, and we're gonna kind of eliminate that because it's obvious it's family
I'm
first,
not
but
gonna,
then
yeah, we're
between trading,
eliminating.
coaching, and business.
Yeah. Um, but honestly, like I'm married to this guy I'm very in love with. I've been married 23 years and I get like a lot from our relationship. We're really best friends and
Yeah, that's
he's
great.
very hot. And like I'm just like
I'm sure that helps.
I'm still it does. It helps a lot. I'm very smitten. We like really are into each other. So that's like the biggest I think that's the biggest blessing in my life that I just
He's hot, and
have
you're
like
in your Mustang out milfing around town, as you put
yeah,
it.
like I'm really milfy
I
for
still can't
him.
believe you said that.
I'm trying to be hot, but only for him. You know what I mean? Like for his benefit. But no, yeah, like that's sort of the biggest, like that's my biggest source of happiness in my life is that I have this life partner. But then beyond that, like the coaching thing is really awesome. And the trading thing, it's weird. It's sort of like not lost its luster, but I just know it's there for me as something reliable. So it doesn't give me like this gratification that, oh, I can do it. Like I know I can do it. I have like it's sort of just like a skill I have. It's fun to say that I can do that, but coaching people, like getting other people to understand it is sort of more of a challenge and work. I am somebody who likes to work. I always say I want to kind of retire, but truth is I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously you're busy between a business and
Mhm.
three three big men, or teenage
Mhm.
boys who are growing into big men, and then
Mhm.
obviously, it's great that you've been able to find, carve out this little spot of time of your 2 hours or 3 hours a week to literally make a killing doing the options trading, right?
Yeah, yeah. When I think about it, that I like have 3 jobs. Sometimes I'm like, how am I doing this? But like, I've really
Yeah,
delegated a
just
ton of
being a
tasks.
mom alone is a full-time job, so
My husband is super involved with our kids, so he like doctor's appointments. They're going with my husband. Orthodontist, they're going with my husband. Like all like basketball practice, he takes them. I'll go to the games, but like he runs them around like crazy. He loves to drive his car, so I think this is like a win-win situation. But
right.
um so there's that. And then like the other thing I do is I cook a lot. So on top of that, like I love to cook and I'm always cooking fresh meals and stuff like that. But I know Dave, I'm always ripping on your meals because I'm like, how are you eating? Your meals used to be pretty sketch.
Yeah, well, I got myself a personal, a chef recently, so that's gone a long way.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So that's kind of my thing. So like the trading, coaching for people, like when you coach for somebody else and you give them they get this skill set for life, like just imagining what it's going to do for them is really rewarding. When I make ads for companies, I'm just like, see, it feels very transactional,
Right,
you
it's
know.
just a job, it's nothing,
I
yeah.
used to have more, I mean, I have a passion for the art form of it because I was actually, my degree is in the visual arts, which is, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And that's a huge passion of mine too, is art. And I actually use some of my premiums to buy art that I invest in. But like, I don't know. It's just people grow and they evolve and they change, and like
Yeah, for sure.
there's less to figure out there for me, or less. I don't know. It's interesting, I guess, how people change.
NBA All-Star still with us, says he's a certified coach now, but haven't started coaching yet. Trading is really working out, so we'd rather just stick with that for now. So, hey,
Yeah,
yeah, stick with
yeah,
what's working, right?
exactly.
Well, Erica, like I
Yes,
said, we've been going for nearly 2 hours. It's
I
been
know.
another
We should
amazing conversation. Lots of great, comments in the chat. Thank you everyone for showing up here, whether you've been watching on YouTube or Twitter, or that one person that might be watching on Twitch.
I know. I have to look up what Twitch even is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, sharing knowledge with others is so rewarding part of so many professions. So true.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very true. And so many people are skeptical of that. It's like sort of sad. It says more about them than us, I think.
That's right.
All right,
Well,
Dave. Well,
hopefully next time we can get more of a group on here, because like I said, I know I had a little group chat going there with some other options traders that we follow each other on Twitter. So I was really hoping we could have like a more of a round table, but this has been amazing as well. I always love chatting with you.
me
And
too.
yeah, and your next assignment is to go out and take some pictures of that Mach-E. I want to see pictures of that
I
car.
know. Let's wait for a sunny day. Maybe you'll get a
And
picture of my kid in
and
it.
yeah, it's like that's awesome too. Like, is that fully electric or hybrid?
Fully electric, yeah.
Yeah, so you're like zero money on gas.
Yeah, and I've got solar panels on my roof, so it's like, woo.
Oh, so you're charging it for free too, basically.
Little like supplementary because of
Yeah,
Chicago, it's not always sunny. I'll be
right.
honest about that. Like, but it does help. Like, we do get some free energy, but probably like half of our energy needs as a household are met with solar, and we heat our home with electric too, which is interesting.
Oh,
So
nice. So you're
yeah.
getting the electricity from the solar from solar
Hmm.
panels.
Yes, waiting for pics. Okay, guys,
Yeah.
I have my homework for me set out for that car. He's like, I know you don't like Elon. I'm like, it's okay that you do. It's just I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, Erica, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone who's shown up in the chat and been watching on YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or Kick, which I highly doubt anyone's watching on Twitch or Kick, but that's okay. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit subscribe, and of course, you can follow both Erica and I on Twitter,
Yeah.
X, and check out Millionaire Mentorship. That
Mhm.
link should be already in the description below if I did things correctly before we went live.
Yeah, or you can reach out to me on X too. You can always message me anywhere. And actually, I have somebody who will tell me that you messaged me if you're interested because I'm not always on X, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's right.
All
Okay,
right.
thanks again, and we'll see everyone next time.
Yeah.
Thanks.